This is billed as one of the first Chinese blockbusters, and I'd say it lives up to that name. And the main reason I sat down to watch it was that, let's be honest, there aren't a lot of large-scale, epic, high-concept sci-fi movies around. Probably because they cost a lot of money to make, and that's a shame. Because I like sci-fi, but most of the time I have to stick with smaller movies, indie movies and the like, that are a lot less grand and ambitious. But this one definitely took the challenge of making a grand and ambitious movie. Because it's big, it's really big, and flashy, and bombastic, and all of those things. And the plot basically involves turning the Earth itself into a spaceship. And the story here is that the sun has started to expand, and we have no choice but to get out of Dodge. But instead of building spaceships like some massive spacefaring arcs, what if we instead just equip the Earth with 10,000 humongous engines? That's the idea here, and yeah, even an idiot like me could point out a few holes in that plan. But I will admit that they did actually think it through, and came up with a reasonably believable plan of how it could actually work. Now in reality it still probably wouldn't work at all, but hey, it's a movie. But that's just the setup for the movie, and the actual story starts years later, when Earth is approaching Saturn, I believe. I might be wrong. Anyway, one of the bigger planets, and that's when things start to go wrong. Because this is a blockbuster and someone needs to save the world. Literally. So it's up to this ragtag group of people to do just that. Save the world. And you know, the actual plot is more or less just your basic blockbuster stuff. Nothing extraordinary here, and the same goes for the characters. They're just whatever, pretty much what you'd expect from a big action movie like this. And as a consequence, I'm not gonna lie, about halfway through I started to get bored. I mean, it's big, it's loud, a lot of stuff happens, but did I really care? No, there was nothing that I found to be all that emotionally compelling. And that's probably the biggest issue I had with this, which might not be a problem for a lot of people. Some people like these kind of movies, and you might like this one as well. Which I guess brings me to the other big issue, the special effects. They're all over the place. I wouldn't exactly call them consistent. Because I'd say for most of it, they're very acceptable. Not great, but good enough. And some of the stuff, especially the space stuff, involving the planets and all that, is genuinely stunning. They did a fantastic job with that. I loved it. But then we get to the stuff that I would have a hard time calling stunning. Mostly involving the vehicle sequences. They look awful. And I do mean awful. Unacceptable. Like they were pulled right out of a 15-year-old video game. They looked unfinished, to be brutally honest. Like they ran out of money and kept it in there anyway. So that's definitely not good, and I don't understand how those shots ended up in the final movie. But on the other hand, I will say the actual physical sets were great. I thought they looked really good, and I didn't mind the overall production design. It was pretty cool. So visually it's a mixed bag, ranging from phenomenal to utterly terrible. The direction and the editing was a bit of a mixed bag as well, to be honest. Because most of it was fine, but some parts during the more intense sequences weren't great. I kinda lost track of what was going on and who was where and doing exactly what at some point. Just because of how it was cut and put together, it could have been done better. But overall, it's a pretty standard big environmental blockbuster. Basically a disaster movie with a slightly cooler concept than most. And it does have some great visuals, but other than that, it's not that great. So would I recommend it? I mean, if you like these types of movies, sure. If not, then no, it's probably not gonna surprise you with any hidden depth or anything. So I don't know, probably skip it. Or don't. I'm not your dad. But I am trying to sell out, so consider liking, subbing, hitting that bell and supporting me on Patreon. Because I really need to get myself one of those Earth engines, strictly for personal use. And hey, why not drop a comment below or check out another review? I'd appreciate it. Thanks.